Hi, my name is Noah Mastery, and this is how I would make a model in Blender. We're going to make a sword, actually. So first, I open up Blender, and personally, I always set it to 3ds Max. I believe because it changes some of the shortcuts. I've never really tried it out. But after I set that up, I click outside the screen, and here we have a box. Now I use Alt, I'm on a Mac, so I'll say what the buttons I have are, but they're generally the same on the PC. I have Alt, and I'm going to use the middle mouse to pan around. And you can left click on here to move this. I believe if you hold Control, it snaps. Yeah. And if you have snapping on and you don't want it to, you can then hold Alt Options, and it will go back to free movement. So just to make a simple sword, we're going to use a box, but if you want to delete stuff, you can hold X and it'll say delete. You hit OK. And you go to Add, Mesh, Cube. And there we have the cube that we just deleted. Bringing it back up. And then we're going to go into Edit mode. And we'll hit 3 to be able to select faces. Again, using Alt and the middle mouse to scroll around. Then we'll go into the front view just to look at the size. And we'll hit P to go back to, or actually, I think you can just hold Alt and scroll around to go back to perspective. So I don't know the size of this in meters, because I haven't learned scale yet, but we'll go with what we have for now. So this is going to be part of the handle, which means this can be bigger. And you can hit E to extrude. And here, clicking on a face, scrolling around to the opposite face, you hold Shift, Alt, and you click, and you select multiple, although that one didn't work out the way that I'd planned. So to undo things, you hold Control, Alt, Z, and go back. Now instead, we're going to hold Shift, Control, and click, and then pan around, Shift, Control, click, pan around, Shift, Control, click. And now with these selected, instead of hitting E for extrude, we're going to get a weird thing that we don't want, because I want it to pan outwards. So I'm going to undo that. You go over here to the left side under Tools, Transform, Extrude, and you click and hold it, and go to Region. And then when I'm moving out, it will create a bigger size. And then I'd like this sword area to be a little wider. So I'll scale it. I click it, and then you can hit R for scale. And then maybe a little thinner this way. Now here, because we want it to go up, actually it might be better to go to the front view for proportions. But we'll hit E to extrude. And I'm going to right click because I don't think I'm far enough away to get a nice distance. And then I'll Control Z that. So this feels like a good length to me. And now I'd like to create an edge loop, which you do by hitting Control R, and then you can choose where you want it to go along. I want it to go here, and I'll bring it up. And then I'll bring this in. And that'll be the point. Also, you can hold Control and use the middle mouse to scale in and out. And then here on these, I'm going to Shift Control click to add, Shift Control click to add. I'm going to extrude region. Actually, the first thing before I do that, I wanted to inset them. So you hit Inset Faces, and you just drag in until you're happy with the way it looks. And see, I got that weird. So I'll do that, and then I'll shrink them, and then I'll hit 2, so I can just select face or edges. Shift Control click, bring them up. And I'll scale them out so that they go back to being about at the right spot. And then hitting 3, I'm going to Shift Control click these edges that I just created and extrude their region. Oop, wrong one. I'm going to click hold vertex normals. And then hitting 1 for the vertices. I'm going to Shift Control click these. Whoops, I was holding Shift Alt instead of just Shift Control. And that was giving me a large selection, which I did not want. And here selecting the bottom. Actually, I'm not sure how this became uneven, but we'll fix it. So, Shift Control to select more than one. even it out. And then I'm going to widen this so it's not such a sharp transition. Again, hitting R to change to scale. You can hit W to change to movement, and when you're not in edit mode, E is scale, rotation. But if you need to rotate, you can just go to this, and I suggest being in either the front or the left view when you're rotating something. That way it rotates whichever way that you want, because otherwise it may rotate in the view of your orbit, and I haven't figured out how to change that yet. And here, just to clean up the geometry, I'm going to make these little spots wider. And that's how you would make a rough, obviously you could make anything, but those are just some of the basic tools. There's other things, obviously, that you can do, like sculpting, where it's a lot more like ZBrush, and you're building out things by pushing on them. There's weight painting, which I think has to do with bones, and same with vertex painting is likely creating vertexes. Texture painting is how you color it, and I can show a real quick example. So I'll save this first. File, save as. And before I save it, I'll create a new folder. And here I'll open something else that I did. Oh, unfortunately, it didn't save the painting I had done, but that's okay. Anyways, you can just use that to paint things. Like you pick a color, you paint all over it. This was the fire hydrant I was working on, just with adding red to it. And you go around and you can do things like turning it on all sides so that when you paint here, it's exactly the same. There we go. And you can change it so it's all just one thing, and then everything's just a base color. Because without it on, everything's adding color, more color to it. But that is how you would do it, and hopefully that was helpful.